Aircraft mechanics have a very important job. They keep the thousands of airplanes flying every day safe. But experts say there's a critical shortage of aviation maintenance technicians that can't keep up with growing demand.
Something weird is happening in American skies, and it isn't simply turbulence. Foreign airlines are discreetly withdrawing from the world's largest tourism economy. They're not making big pronouncements or blaming politicians. Instead, they are closing routes one by one, withdrawing from airports that they spent years establishing and leaving terminals vacant. Play Airlines is canceling all flights in the United States. Air Canada is discontinuing flights that formerly carried thousands of passengers into American cities. Even European behemoths like Lufthansa and Air France are reducing capacity and relocating planes elsewhere. And here's the startling part. It's not about prohibitions or punishment. It's all about profit. Demand for flights into the United States is plummeting so swiftly that airlines are reducing losses, removing planes, and relocating them to destinations where growth is still possible. Cities that formerly relied on foreign travel are now seeing gates go dark and customs desks get dusty. It's not simply about fewer flights. It's about missed hotel taxes, lost restaurant customers, and lost employment. It's about the United States slowly losing its role as the center of world travel. And if this trend continues, the ramifications will extend beyond ticket sales. They will be judged in terms of lost influence. Foreign airlines are departing the United States, but they are not causing a scene. There are no rallies, heated press conferences, or last-minute rescue schemes. Instead, the withdrawal is silent, precise, and planned. Play Airlines, the low-cost carrier that previously flew from Boston, Baltimore, and New York to Europe, is discontinuing all operations in the United States, not diminishing, but entirely shutting them off. Air Canada is discontinuing more than 5 key U.S. routes for the winter, eliminating links in cities such as Detroit, Indianapolis, and Tampa, which rely on consistent cross-border business. These are not unsafe routes. They are being shortened to save money. These are the travel arteries, lifelines for work travels, family visits, and tourism, which are now being shut off without notice. The data is obvious. Canadian reservations into the United States have plummeting more than 70% in some regions. Air Canada alone has withdrawn almost 300,000 seats from its United States schedule. WestJet is relocating planes to Europe, while Lufthansa and Air France are discreetly cutting their operations into the United States. This is not an emotional choice. It's a numerical game. Airlines that have withstood energy crises and worldwide pandemics are leaving the United States because the math no longer works. And as these flights vanish, it's not only the planes that go missing. It's an indication that America's reputation as a top tourism destination is fading, one silent route closed at a time. Why are these airlines departing? It is not fear. It is not rage, it is business. Airlines are leaving the United States because it is no longer worth it. Every vacant seat is a lost dollar, and the demand that previously drove flights into American cities is dwindling quickly. The global economy is changing, as are aircraft. Trade restrictions, growing operating expenses, and geopolitical tensions, including trade battles initiated by the previous administration, have created a dangerous climate for airlines. Uncertainty is expensive, and airlines make their money by being predictable. They flourish in marketplaces with consistent demand, transparent expenses, and predictable profits. Currently, the U.S. market is failing that test. Airlines such as Air Canada, Lufthansa, and WestJet are forced to make difficult decisions as reservations fall and profits tighten. They are shifting jets to routes that provide certain returns, such as flights inside Europe, or links to Asia, where passenger demand remains high. They're reallocating aircraft to India, Southeast Asia, and intra-Europe flights, where fuel prices can be kept under control and seats are filled. This is not a government policy that can be easily altered with a new administration or a trade agreement. These are boardroom choices based on financial results. Airlines are departing because the United States has transitioned from a growing market to a financial risk. And when airlines stop making money, they leave without looking back. When airlines leave, it affects more than just the flight schedule. Entire local economies suffer as a result. In places throughout the United States, the silent departure of foreign airlines is transforming lively airport terminals into empty halls, cutting off the flow of tourists who feed local businesses. Hotel earnings in Buffalo have plummeted as fewer Canadians venture over the border for weekend shopping trips. In Seattle and Detroit, retail spending near airports has decreased by more than 12%, affecting restaurants, stores, and local service workers. International gates in Tampa have been black for months, and entire terminal areas have been shuttered to save money. Every canceled flight results in fewer people hiring automobiles, eating at local eateries, and staying in motels. It translates to fewer museum tickets sold, fewer taxi trips, and less gratuities for bellhops and housekeepers. Cities lose millions in tourism taxes that they rely on, resulting in budget problems for local services and infrastructure. Airports that spent billions of dollars constructing terminals are now sitting idle as international carriers leave. Even local currencies suffer, as fewer tourists bring in international spending, undermining regional economies even further. This is about more than simply the aviation sector losing business. It's about cities losing their lifelines, people losing their wages, and communities losing the constant heartbeat that international travel once provided. As foreign airlines depart from the United States, their aircraft are not idle. They are being relocated to routes where development and stability remain, altering the global aviation landscape while completely ignoring American airports. WestJet, for example, has transferred over 100 transatlantic flights to Europe, increasing service to locations such as Dublin and Edinburgh. Air Canada is reallocating aircraft to domestic and European Union routes, where demand remains stable. Lufthansa and its Star Alliance partners have curtailed long-haul flights to the United States by 15%, instead focusing on India and Southeast Asia, where corporate travel and tourism are increasing. Middle Eastern airlines such as Emirates, Qatar Airways, and Turkish Airlines are coming in to fill gaps in some U.S. markets, but not to balance demand. They are taking advantage of the chance to gain market share in areas that benefit them the most, frequently redirecting travelers through their hubs to other destinations rather than American cities. Meanwhile, Chinese and other Asian carriers are upgrading their long-haul networks, but rather than prioritizing links to the United States, they are focusing on Southeast Asia, Africa, and BRICS-aligned nations. This trend indicates that the United States is being gradually displaced from the center of the global aviation network. Routes that formerly drew in business executives, tourists, and students from all over the world are now being rerouted elsewhere, resulting in new concentrations of activity that push U.S. airports and cities to the sidelines. The stealthy withdrawal of foreign airlines from the United States is more than simply a passing fad. It is a warning sign of longer-term ramifications for America's economic and geopolitical position. Fewer foreign flights imply fewer business meetings, intellectual exchanges, and diplomatic events taking place on U.S. soil. It implies fewer investors, students, and visitors selecting American towns, reducing the economic clout these cities formerly had. Every channel that disappears reduces prospects for local enterprises to connect with global markets. Supply chains begin to reroute, emphasizing locations with greater air linkages, while investments migrate to places with better global connectivity. Airports that formerly thrived on foreign traffic are now forced to scale back operations, laying off staff and reducing services, causing a ripple effect throughout entire towns. What makes this situation even more troubling is that it is not readily resolved. A government may eliminate a tariff or a new administration can modify a policy, but when an airline leaves a market, it might take years, if not decades, to reestablish those routes. The longer the United States sits on the margins of global air travel, the more difficult it will be to reclaim its place as a key hub in the world's aviation system. If the pattern continues, the impact will not be limited to empty gates and missed ticket sales. It will be measured in lost influence, as the world's attention swings away from American cities and toward destinations that are quicker, cheaper, and more profitable to reach. Adjusting flight schedules. It is an indication that America is quietly losing its role as the center of global travel, as well as a portion of its worldwide power. When foreign airlines withdraw, it sends a clear message. The math is no longer valid, and the dangers exceed the benefits. Planes are being relocated to markets with consistent development, while American cities see their gates close and their linkages to the rest of the globe diminish. This withdrawal is not motivated by prohibitions or transient politics. It is driven by profit, facts, and boardroom decisions, leaving little place for emotion. And once these pathways are gone, they are extremely difficult to restore. As other nations and areas consolidate their places in the global aviation network, the United States risks becoming a flyover in an economy that relies on connection and global flows. If this trend continues, the consequences will not be limited to airports. It will be felt in companies, institutions, and communities across the country when the world gradually stops visiting American cities and finally stops listening to them. If you found this analysis useful, click the subscribe button to remain up to date on how these hidden economic trends are affecting your world.